Let's roll our head to one side and the other. One more time. Good. Coming centered, pouring water out of our ear. Center, and imagine pouring water out of the other ear. Center. Feel free to take a moment, lay here, breathe, relax. You can have your hands on your belly and make your belly raise and fall with each exhalation, allowing calmness to come over you. Best thing we can do when we are faced with something that is overwhelming, stressful, fatiguing mentally, take a moment, find a corner, quiet spot, and breathe. Focusing on inhaling, pause, exhale. Having that direct feedback of hands on your belly can help tell you that you are breathing in your belly and not up here. Belly breathing stimulates a relaxation release, helps calm nerves, can help give people some control when they feel powerless. I hope you enjoyed this class today. I will learn more and present more, and I would love your feedback. Thank you so much. Hello, welcome to my basement again. We are going to have a stretch and relax class. Stretch and relax class is roughly 30-40 minutes long. I have a couple props that you can also grab if you like. I've got a chair if you need some help with balance. It's also nice to help stretch out those quads without stressing out everything else. You can do with shoes, no shoes. I took my shoes off. I have a comfy couple pillows close by if you need to prop up anything. I have my yoga block and my yoga strap, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, finding ourselves in the center of the mat, just let your feet be under your hips. Don't worry about distance, where the toes are. Let's just focus on allowing our feet to be grounded, letting the four corners of our feet be anchored, and just gently shifting our weight forward and back without picking up our feet. Just want us to find that balance of 60% in our heels and about 40% towards our toes. And when we find that, think of taking a string on each of our arches and lifting our arches up, engaging the muscles underneath our feet. Allowing our shins to just slightly roll through, allowing the seam of our shorts or our stretchy pants to rotate forward slightly as we bring a slight engagement to our belly muscles. This light engagement is bracing for our core. It's allowing our tailbone to drop down and allowing our lower back to lengthen. From there, pretend there's a string on our sternum. We just want to lift our sternum. We don't want to flare the ribs out or throw the shoulders back. It's just a little string, lifting it to our chin or to our nose, however you like to think about it, and allowing the shoulders to fall away from our ears. This is mountain pose. It's a nice relaxing pose to come into to help lengthen the body, take the load out of the spine from our postures where we're forward leaning, causing stress in our neck and our low back. So practice that periodically throughout the day. If you find yourself standing at the sink or standing in line someplace, try and come into that mountain pose. From here, let's just step generously apart, sweeping the arms up and sitting back into our heels. We'll do a couple sunflowers here, just flowing through, allowing the weight to sit back, not letting our knees shoot forward a whole bunch, but pushing back into our hips. Again, that weight is back into our heels. Our big toes are anchored, but they're not heavy into the floor. Allow the heaviness to sink back into the heels. Keeping the knees from caving in, we drive those knees out to those pinky toes. Good. Let's do 4 more. There's 3 and 2. 1 more. Staying tall like a 5-pointed star as we draw our elbows towards our ribs and extend. Spreading those fingertips out like a starfish. Holding them down. Good. Coming into that little baby squat again. Remember, we don't want to come forward into it. Allow the hips to press back. Allow the hips to hinge a little bit, allowing that chest to come forward, countering the hips going back. Let's do 5 more. There's 4, 3, last 2, and 1, flowing together. This is a sunflower and moonflower. Bringing warmth, increasing blood flow before we stretch. Stretching right away is like taking a rubber band out of the fridge or the freezer and stretching it. We need to get the blood moving. If you want to stretch or go right into stretching, feel free to take a walk for 5 minutes. Get that body's core temperature up. Last one. Staying tall in that 5-pointed star. And floating the arms down. Go ahead and toe heel in. So you feel comfortable enough to step in. And we're going to use the chair if we need it for balance, or try this on our own as we come up onto the balls of our feet. And lower one heel, up, and the other heel, and up. You can always use the wall for balance too. Heels. Good. Let's do 10 more of these, okay? Just raise and lower. As I do this, notice that I'm not rolling out onto my ankle like this. I'm keeping my ankles together, not rolling out in that pinky toe. Stay heavy in the ball of the foot, not in the big toe, but get to the ball of that foot. Help strengthen up those ankle joints. 2 more. 2, 1, and done. Good. Bringing those feet back underneath our hips. Let's do a little chair. Hands at heart center, hinging at the hips. Let the knees press forward as we press our hips backward, making it equal, an equal hinge, equal bend. Good. Coming up and just into a half forward fold, belly's engaged, and lift up and into chair. Good. Lift up, forward fold, lift up, and into chair. Let's do that again. Forward fold, flat back, engage the belly, and chair. Let's do 2 more. Folding, and chair. 1 more. Fold, and chair. Good. Let's use our chair as our prop for now. Using this, let's come into a lunge. Doesn't matter what leg you want to use first. The leg closest to me could be forward. The leg closest to the wall behind you can be forward. Let's not worry about that. Right now, we're just going to worry about allowing the chair to support us, but we're not resting on it. I want us to pull our belly muscles in. We're going to come up onto the balls of our feet and lower down. And now leading with our hips, allow that knee to lean forward to the chair, feeling a wonderful stretch within our calf, and then back. So raise, lower, lead with the hips, and back. Raise, and lower, coming into the stretch for that calf, and back. Let's do 2 more. Lift, and lower, lean, and back. 1 more time. lift, and lower, and lean, and back. Let's switch legs. So we'll do the same thing. Let's raise and lower, lean, and back. Feeling that wonderful stretch within the calf. It kind of comes down the shin, wraps around under the heel. Let's lift and lower. Lead with the hips and back. Keep the belly engaged. Not letting the low back get long like this. Keep that belly engaged. Lean into it and back. 2 more. Lift and lower. Leaning into it and back. 1 more. Lift and lower. Leaning and back. Good. Wonderful. Let's use that chair still. We're just going to come into that chair pose a little bit like what we did earlier for warming up. Allowing the knees to lead a little bit as our hips hinge back. We can feel the stretch within our shins from here coming down underneath our heels. If we feel any pressure, any tender in our knees, sit back a little bit. Don't let the knees be further forward. Don't let the weight be on the toes. Again, let the weight be mainly in our heels. We can lift and wiggle our big toe, but we're going to anchor it down like it's super glued to the floor. Rotating those thigh muscles open and pulling those belly muscles in. Good. Come on up. Let's come one more time into that split stance. This time, let's just lean. We're going to come forward. 3, 2, 1, and release. 2 more times. Forward. 3, 2, 1. Release. 1 last time. 3, 2, 1, and release. Good. Let's change. Let's lean into our lunge. Feeling that stretch blossom. Our heel is anchored, not letting our foot rotate inward. We're still lifting our arch and back. There's 3, 2, 1. Release. 1 more time. 3, 2, 1, and release. Good. Let's turn this chair. Now, working on stretching the hips, we're going to work our way up. We're going to get into our ribs, and we're going to use that chair to help us, okay? So turning away from our chair, we've got the wall next to us, hopefully, that we can use just to kind of help support us. Take the leg closest to me, farther away from the wall, and lift it up onto that chair. Let's do a little pelvic tilt, gently pressing the top of our shin into that chair. You can feel the blossoming of the stretch right here. Good. As we do this, let's sweep towards me. Fingertips to the ceiling. Let's keep our hips level, but separate the ribs as we reach towards the wall. Keeping our tailbone tucked under. And come down. Let's do that 2 more times. Lift. Keeping our hips level. Separate the ribs, reaching over, and ceiling, and lower. 1 more time. Lift, separating the ribs, center, and lower. Good. Coming back to the focus within here. If we've lost that stretch, you're more flexible than resting your foot on the chair, you may grab that foot and gently pressing the foot into the hand, feeling that tension blossom within the hip right here. Still give yourself that balance if you need it. Still embrace being on the chair, But again, let's focus on pushing the shin gently, just a smidgen. Just don't want to just pound into it. Just a gentle activation. We can feel that right here. Good. Let's take the leg off. And we're going to change sides. So we need to take our chair and move it this way. All right. And then again, hand on the wall. Leg closest to me is up on the chair. Let's start with getting that blossoming stretch within our hip flexor. So gently pressing the top of our foot into the chair. We can feel the stretch blossom right here. Now taking it over, we're going to lift. Hips stay level as we separate the rib cage. Return and lowering. Good. Let's do it again. Lift. Separating the ribs. Back center and lower. 2 more. Lift. Separating the ribs. Keeping our hips level. And lower. 1 last time. Lifting. Separate the ribs. Fan them apart. And lower. Good. Having a seat on our chair. Let's take whatever leg you want, because we'll flip it back and forth. The ankle goes right above the knee, making a nice figure 4. Supporting the ankle with our one hand. Hand rests on our knee in the other. Let's make sure this foot is underneath the knee. Good. Now, to change how this stretch feels, you can take this shin and slide it further across or further open. Ideally, I would love it if we can just slide it enough to where this knee is in line with our hip, not outside the line of our hip. But it's okay if maybe you're super tight, but that just doesn't happen right now. Me, I'm very tight in my hips. You can see my knee just pops up. Some people, you would put that leg up there and that leg would be perfectly flat. That's good for them. So let's start with a hip hinge on this. Inhaling, and as we hinge from the hip joint, not rounding with our spinal column, okay? Stay lifted in the spine, hinge at the hip. Leaning forward into the stretch. You can gently press the hand on the knee if you'd like to increase the sensation that you feel in your hip, or you can just keep it right here. Breathing into the stretch. Keeping this foot flexed, that protects the knee. It helps keep that patella right where it should be. That's that little bony triangle. Good. Inhaling and exhale, lifting. We'll do this again. Inhale and exhale, hinging at the hip joint. Breathe. Keeping our foot flexed, pulling the toes back to the knee, not letting the instep of our foot look up to the ceiling. Breathe. Good. Let's undo that. Give that knee a hug. Point and flex that ankle. Make a little circle and change directions. Same thing other side. Placing the ankle above the knee. Foot is under the knee. This foot is flexed. And see if we can't adjust to where we can have that knee in line with our hip. From here, forward fold. Inhaling. Exhale, hinging at the hip joint. Down low. It's a lot lower than you think. Breathe. Let the breath go to the tension within our hips. Good. Inhaling. Exhale, lifting out. Good. 2 more. Feels very good. Inhale. Exhale, hinging at our hips. Breathe. Good. And lifting. 1 last time. Inhale. And exhale. Again, if you want, you can let your elbow rest on that knee, aiding that hip open. Again, no pain, no tension. Your breathing should not be labored. You should be breathing comfortably, easily. Nothing should hurt, just a beautiful stretch. You should let it blossom. Don't crunch into it. Good. Inhaling. Exhale, release. Good. Let's hug that knee in. We'll point and flex a couple times, make a little circles, and change directions. Let's move this chair out of the way. We're going to go to the floor. If you have a block and a strap, wonderful. If you don't worry about it. It's not exactly needed, but it can help. Let's gracefully have a seat upon our sit-upons. I'm going to face this way, long ways on our mat. So we're going to work on stretching out hips and working our way up that spine, okay? So coming on down to the floor, hands behind the knees, embracing that belly muscle as we uncurl just till the tops of our hips touch, and then using those belly muscles to raise ourselves back up. Good. Uncurl. One vertebrae at a time. Belly muscles are braced. Hands behind the knees for gentle support. And curling back up. Uncurling all the way down this time. One vertebrae at a time until our shoulder blades touch. And after they touch, go ahead and release everything. Extending the arms overhead. Thumbs to touch the floor. Good. Let's bring our feet in comfortable close. Hands come down by our sides. Good. Go ahead and lift the hips. Give them a little shake and let them settle where they should be. Sometimes we lay down and it gets kind of awkward. Lift your shoulders. Find yourself in a comfortable position. Lift and tuck a shoulder under just a little bit. Allow that sternum to lift towards our nose, like what we would do with mountain pose. Shorten the distance between our rib cage and our hip bone. Hold those guys together gently. We can feel our lower back touching the mat now, not because we're pushing our lower back down, but because we're engaging our belly muscles. We're shortening the distance between our hips and our rib cage. From there, let's raise a knee up, bringing the knees up over our hips. So work just a little bit on core strengthening. So we bring our hands up right over our shoulders. Let's broaden those shoulders out. Good. Now opposite arm to leg, we're just going to extend out a little bit, feeling that tension blossom within our belly. Don't let the ribs flare. Don't let the lower back leave the floor. Again, not pushing the lower back into the floor, but we are shortening the distance between our hips and our ribs. And back center. This can be as big as you like. It can be as little as you like. Make it yours. This is just a dead bug exercise. It's wonderful to train the mind to pay attention to bracing the core. Our core is our foundation. If we cannot engage our core, it transfers everywhere to sore knees, sore backs, sore necks. So working on strengthening, working on core awareness. Again, shorten the distance between the hips and the ribs. Reset this thought each time before you extend a leg and an arm. Okay? One more time, each side. Extend out a little bit. And in. Reset. Extend. And in. Good. Let's bring those knees in. Rocking side to side. Giving that low back a nice little bit of love. Good. Now using our straps. Let's take the strap across whatever foot. Again, this part, it doesn't matter. We will do both eventually. There's nothing particular about what side we do first today. I just had it for the chair because I wanted to do a little standing crescent. Let's have the strap across the ball of our foot, okay? The strap's in both hands. We're just going to bring the knee in and press it out. Good. Bring the knee in and press out. We want to end with a straight leg, but not locked knee. Think of the back of our leg, lengthening as we reach our heel up to the ceiling, our toes drawn back towards our face. Let's do 2 more. 1 more. Holding the stretch right here, lifting the heel up to the ceiling. Let this foot float and let the knee fall open. Gently draw on the strap, bringing that leg a little closer towards us, but still with a straight leg. Try not to bend it just to bring it, because our goal is not to see how close we can get the leg to us at all costs. Our goal is to have the leg straight, drawing the leg towards us and feeling that blossom of a stretch on the back side of our leg, our hamstrings. Good. Let's place our straps into our same hand as our leg. The other arm will go out to a letter T. And let's open. Again, the bent leg is butterflying open to counterbalance our opening of our extended leg. Breathing into the stretch. Let's flex our foot a little harder, pushing out through the heel. And using our core strength, again, shortening the distance between the belly by the rib and hip, drawing back in. 1 more time, opening up through the hip. Nice and easy. This leg is butterflying open to counter our extended leg. Arm is out like a letter T. Reaching through the heel. Flexing the foot and using core strength to draw center. Good. Let's place the strap in the opposite hand so we extend our leg out. Bringing our arm out to a letter T. Bringing our foot just across the body to where our foot is over our opposite hip. This hip is still on the ground. Good. It's a different stretch. And now allowing ourselves to come over a little bit more, reaching the heel across the body, allowing the hip to lift away. Good. Now using core strength, pull this hip back down. And then allowing the hip to lift, coming into the twist a little more. 1 more time, pulling the hip back down. And then coming into the twist. Good. Feel free to come over as far as you like. You can let the hips become stacked. But please keep our rib cage close to the ground. Shoulder stays down. If that rib cage starts lifting away, pull the rib cage down. Anchor that rib cage. There's a 10-pound weight right in your ribs, holding your ribs down. Wonderful. Let's bring it back center. We're going to change legs. Shake those legs out. Get the toes a wiggle. And change sides. Good. Strap is in the same hand. Got both hands holding onto the strap. Let's bring the knees into the chest and extend. Draw in and extend. In. Extend. Excuse me. 1 last time. Let's take it up and extend the heel. Reaching the heel to the ceiling, our toes drawn down towards our face. Wonderful. The strap is in the same hand, allowing our knee to butterfly open. Arm is out like a letter T to counter as we open the extended leg, keeping our hips level, feeling that wonderful stretch blossom. Flex the foot, push through the heel a little bit more. Wonderful. Drawing back to center. So we do this one more time. Open. Reaching through the heel. Toes pull back. Good. And drawing back to center. Let's place the straps in the opposite hand. Arm out like a letter T as we extend our bent leg. And again, just bringing the foot across the body so where the foot is right over the hip. Our hips are still down here, feeling the stretch a little bit differently. Good. Now allowing for that leg to come across, reaching the foot towards me. Hip comes off, but again, our ribs are still heavy. Make those ribs heavy. Good. Now using core strength, pull the hip back to the ground. And then extend towards me. And draw back down. One more time. Extend towards me. And draw back. Good. Core strength to bring back the center. Let's step in our foot. Releasing the strap from our foot. Good. Taking the straps in our hands. Let's extend overhead. And draw back center. We want to pull this strap into two. Give myself a little room here. There. Good. Lifting our sternum to our nose, but again, stitching the ribs to the hips. Pull that strap into two. Good. Extending one arm to the ceiling. Keep the back of the shoulder touching the ground. Just gently bring across. Try not to do this. Again, let the back of your shoulder touch that ground. And then changing sides. Keeping the shoulder in contact with the ground. Just a gentle draw across. Again, we're not pulling completely across. It's not how hard you can do it. This is not a huge stretch. Good. Taking our feet a little wider than the mat, just let the knees dip side to side. Keeping those belly muscles engaged. Shorten the distance between the hip and the rib. Good. Let the knees fall towards me. Feeling a wonderful stretch within our hips. If you would like to increase that sensation, you may take the heel and lay it on the knee. That draws that hip a little bit more. If that makes you arch funny and the ribs pop away from the ground, please take that foot off. This is perfectly fine. Remember, we've got that 10-pound weight in our ribs. Keep it pulling us down. Wonderful stretch right through the hips. Let's take that foot off if we had it there and just go back and forth a couple times, and we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. We are almost done for today. Today was just generally hip focused. Next class I will do will be upper body a little bit more. Again, foot on the knee, but if it starts pulling me like this, take that foot off. Breathe. Good. Let's remove that knee. Or remove that foot from the knee. Hugging our knees in, rocking and rolling side to side. Good. Let's take our chin towards our chest and lift. Allow the backs of our shoulders to be engaged, palms up, dipping our chin to our chest and lifting. One more.